Tensions are soaring across the globe, and now Keir Starmer has been forced into action. Just hours after returning from the G7, the Prime Minister is racing to convene an emergency Cobra meeting. The timing isn't coincidental, it's a response to rapidly escalating developments overseas. Diplomatic staff are being pulled, warnings are flying, and the stakes have just gone global. What's triggered this sudden shift? And why does it feel like Britain is bracing for something far bigger? Let's break it down. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to urgently convene a top-level Cobra meeting within hours, British standards learned, marking a dramatic escalation in Britain's response to the unfolding Middle East crisis. The meeting, typically reserved for national emergencies or major international threats, comes at a critical moment. Starmer will chair the session personally, despite only just returning from the G7 summit in Canada, where he had been pressing global leaders for de-escalation in the Middle East. The timing underscores the seriousness with which the government is now treating the situation. The emergency meeting follows explosive developments in the Israel-Iran conflict, namely credible fears that the United States could imminently enter the war. British intelligence sources believe the conflict is teetering on the edge of a wider regional explosion, with Western involvement now a very real possibility. The warning signs are already flashing. The Foreign Office has confirmed that families of diplomatic staff have been temporarily withdrawn from the British Embassy in Tel Aviv and the consulate in Jerusalem as a precautionary measure. This rare step reflects deepening concerns over the safety of UK nationals in the region. Downing Street is treading carefully. Speaking this afternoon, the Prime Minister's official spokesperson insisted that the UK's position remains unchanged. "We want to de-escalate, not escalate." But when asked whether Starmer still believed, as he claimed just yesterday, that the United States wouldn't join the conflict, there was a telling omission. The spokesman refused to repeat the line. That alone speaks volumes. The PM's office issued a stark statement. "This is an extremely fast-moving situation, and we are working with partners to reiterate the need to return to diplomacy." Yet the diplomatic track may already be fraying. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, issued a direct threat to Washington earlier today, declaring, "The harm the US will suffer will definitely be irreparable if they enter this conflict militarily." Khamenei also accused the US of secretly backing Israel's most recent offensive, saying suspicion is now growing stronger day by day. Meanwhile, in Washington, there are growing rumblings that President Donald Trump and his team are weighing military options in support of Israel, including potential strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Trump added fuel to the fire yesterday with a cryptic but threatening message online saying, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. We are not going to take him out, kill. At least not for now. Our patience is wearing thin." This tit-for-tat rhetoric has triggered panic not only in diplomatic circles, but also among thousands of British citizens trapped in Israel. With Israeli airspace closed and all commercial flights grounded, many are unable to leave. Downing Street has so far refused to offer evacuation plans, instead issuing vague advice for people to follow local authorities and stay close to shelter. The current wave of violence began in the early hours of Friday, when Israeli forces launched a major offensive targeting Iranian infrastructure, allegedly linked to nuclear weapons development. Iran retaliated the following night, firing waves of ballistic missiles, some of which successfully breached Israel's Iron Dome defense system. Shocking scenes from Tel Aviv show buildings hit and civilians forced into bunkers. Now, with US involvement hanging in the balance and the region inching toward a full-blown war, all eyes are on Keir Starmer and today's Cobra meeting. Britain's next moves could determine not only the safety of its citizens abroad, but its role in a rapidly escalating global conflict. In other news, the Durham Miners Association has doubled down on its refusal to invite Reform UK to its 139th annual gala, despite the party's landslide victory in the county's council election. Last month, the DMA's General Secretary, Alan Mardgam, vowed that leader Nigel Farage would never, ever be invited to the gala. And now the group has issued a lengthy statement attacking reform again. The DMA claimed reform had won its landslide council victory thanks to protest votes and a very low turnout. It also lashed out at how the party's councillors, 65 from 98 in total, do not believe in community, in the labour movement, and in social justice. Elsewhere, the association repeats a Labour attack line to brand Farage, an enemy of the National Health Service. With him in Downing Street, the DMA warns the NHS would move to an insurance model, the biggest blow yet to the public service model of healthcare. The party leader's vows to be on the side of trade unionists and reindustrialise Britain were labelled cheap talk, while Reform's Doge efficiency drive was labelled a redoubling of the Tory attack on local government services. Reform UK is a fan club for the bully, Donald Trump, and the mass murderer, Vladimir Putin, the DMA added. Durham County Council's deputy leader, former Saturday five-star Darren Grimes, issued a furious verdict on the DMA's snub in response. Right, so the Durham Miners Association won't let Reform UK councillors come to their little jamboree. Boo bloody who? Grimes told GB News. This is the same organisation that's just watched their beloved Labour Party lose 94% of council seats. That's not an electoral defeat, that's a restraining order from the entire county. They're very upset about the 34.8% turnout that delivered this humiliation. Very low, they sniff. Except it wasn't. It was above average. Turns out that when you give working people something to actually vote for, rather than another 5 years of managed decline and diversity coordinators, they drag themselves to the polling station. Here's what really sticks in their craw. Reform's 65 councillors are more working class than Labour's MPs. Poll them. Go on. You'll find pit villages and colliery rows in Reform's family trees. You'll find Oxbridge and organic delis in Labour's. The DMA lectures about community while creating enemies lists like some demented students' union. They champion workers while defending Labour's £5 billion employment bill that'll make it illegal to have a proper conversation in a pub. They claim to represent Durham whilst their party pursues policies that would turn the North East into Europe's largest industrial heritage site. They accuse Reform of abandoning industrial communities, while Reform advocates nationalising British Steel. Labour wouldn't nationalise a paperclip if it meant upsetting their globalist chums on boards of organisations with an acronym. The Durham Miners Gala has become what it was always destined to become, a historical reenactment society for people who think the problem with modern Britain is that we don't have enough net zero officers. Meanwhile, actual Durham voters, the ones whose grandfathers really did go down the pit, have delivered their verdict. The red flag may still fly at the gala. It's been rightly vaporised at the ballot box. The DMA claimed Grimes' supporters group on Facebook was an open sewer of racism and labelled Reform's councillors divisive, hate-filled people who have benefited from the collapse of the Tory party and from the Labour Party's failure to defend basic Labour principles on welfare benefits, jobs and social justice. In fact, the Labour government has swung sharply to the right and embraced Reform UK's rhetoric that blames social crisis and hardship not on Tory misrule, tax breaks for the rich and austerity policies, but on immigration, the association added. We in the DMA will not be going down that road. We have not and will not abandon our principles. And so Reform UK councillors will not be invited as our guests to the gala, its statement finishes, after starting with the words, "Everyone in Durham is welcome at the gala." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.